Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow and tune in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Start hearing more of what you want. Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations, live commercial-free news, and every live NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL game. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Central capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. We move into the final hour of trading. We have got the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, all declining right now. NASDAQ just turning lower, dropping by 1 point, have been higher for much of the day. S&P, Dow, both on the minus side right now, looking at a 12-point drop in the S&P 500 index, lower by 0.4%. We have got the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 151 points, drop there of 0.6%. Equities trading near the lows of the day as investors digest a barrage of reports on the widening coronavirus outbreak. President Trump to be speaking at 6 o'clock tonight, Wall Street time. Yes, we'll have that for you live right here on Bloomberg Radio. And again, a day of fast-moving developments. Keep it locked into Bloomberg Radio for the very latest. And of course, you got to find out what Asian markets are doing tonight. Daybreak Asia's got you covered for all night long. S&P again down 7. The 10-year 1.31%. Ira Jersey is chief U.S. interest rate strategist at Bloomberg Intelligence.
And one of the things that you can look for is 1.07 as the next kind of big level on 10-year Treasury yield. So, continuing to make all-time yield lows. And this is on the back of the idea that the coronavirus is going to keep central banks easier than everyone expected for a long time. And right now, we're pricing in for at least 2 interest rate cuts this year, if not 3.
And again, we will have more on the interest rate outlook for you coming up in just a moment right here on Bloomberg Business Week. Another tough day for a lot of travel-related stocks. Delta Airlines temporarily reducing the number of weekly flights it operates between the U.S. and Seoul, South Korea through April because of health concerns relating to the coronavirus. Delta shares lower now by 2.7%. Another down day for United Airlines Holdings, down 6.3%. American Airlines Group down 3.6%. Hilton among the hotel stocks lower by 1.5%. Marriott down 2.5%. 3M shares, they are moving higher, up now by 1.4% on demand for its face masks. Gold up 0.8%, $16.47 the ounce. Recapping S&P down 10, down 0.3%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That's a Bloomberg Business Flash.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
All right. Yeah, the Wednesday edition of Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Masser, Jason Kelly, my co-host, is on assignment. Vince Signorella is with me, putting up with me on this Wednesday. Normally, he's on there on his the macro squawk desk, working away, but instead you're working away with me, which I really appreciate. We do want to talk a little bit about the day's economic news, bond news, throw in the virus. Alex Harris, bond reporter at Bloomberg News. She's in our interactive broker studio here in New York, along with Carl Riccadonna, our chief U.S. economist at Bloomberg Economics. Before I get to Carl, I do want to just quick check with you, Alex. Where are we in the bond market? Because we've seen some interesting moves, certainly, this week.
Oh, gosh. So we hit the record low in the 10-year, and we're flirting with that level again
today?
This afternoon. Yeah, we had matched. We had just dipped right below it. So we're still hovering in that area. And again, nothing's changed. Everything right now for the bond market is headline-driven. So, you keep hearing, Governor Cuomo in New York came out and is talking about trying to get ahead of this. And that's, I think, where we're at. And so there's a lot of headline risks. And as you know, the president is speaking tonight, I think around 6 o'clock.
Correct.
And it's going to be important because that aligns with the opening of the futures markets in Asia. So now that's going to be worth watching to see what's the tone going to be from him,
right,
and how's the market going to react to that. So you got to keep an eye on, your S&P, the E-mini futures. You have to keep an eye on the Treasury futures. You got to keep an eye on the Fed funds futures for market pricing on that.
As we're getting ready for the show, I think Vince, you said something that it'll be interesting to see whether the markets catch up with what the bond market's saying versus, what the equity market is showing us.
Yeah, we talk about this on the street all the time. The fixed income market is always right. I mean, more so than not. And they have priced in a decidedly more pessimistic look to this virus and to what's going on economically than the equity market has, or even so the FX market.
Right.
And even today, as Alex just said, we're seeing record lows again in the bonds and the equity markets. Trading so-so. I mean, the moves are not
like Monday, Tuesday.
Not like Monday, Tuesday, but the moves have not been coincident. So either you get a give back of this rally in bonds, or you definitely need to see a bigger sell-off in equities.
Which leads me, to I want to bring in Carl, because I do wonder, I know we're watching the economic data points. Man, I've got a stack of papers that is what I call my virus category, and we keep seeing companies coming out and talking about the impact on them and various other statistics. So where are you guys as each day goes by? I don't know, today, do you look at it a little bit differently, that it might be a bigger impact, Carl?
Well, as we look at economic data releases, anything with a January timestamp on, you can just ignore at this point.
Right.
Because it focuses on February and later data that could potentially show signs of impact. Maybe a little tinge of that in consumer confidence yesterday, but I think we're going to start to see it show up to a more material degree. That being said, in times of fast-breaking events and natural disasters, things of that nature, you really have to rely on the anecdotal data as a leading indicator of what's happening. And so that's why these corporate earnings reports, the amalgamation of which is the Fed's Beige Book coming up next week, right? Those types of insights are especially value at these kinds of economic turning points where the data can be slow to actually catch the trend. That being said, next week we have the two big industrial surveys, manufacturing ISM, non-manufacturing ISM, which could really start to show some deterioration in sentiment.
He says, Vince is telling me that Norway is confirming its first case.
It just came over the tape.
It just came over. And didn't we see cases in Greece? Didn't we see France?
Republic of Georgia.
Yeah, I think there's one in Africa. I forget where, but we're starting to see that. Brazil. I mean, the interesting thing is, and this kind of ties in with what Carl's talking about, and economist Tyler Cowen, his column was about this today. It's like, you think about supply chains, and people are talking about China and the hit to supply chains there. And, he was making the point, well, if it's one area and one part of the supply chain, you're okay. But, supply chains exist around the world. They have pieces around the world. And so that's what makes this more concerning, I think, on an economic front, and why the bond market is so pessimistic, is that if you're dealing with a virus in multiple countries and outbreaks everywhere, this is when it becomes a problem.
I'm going to take issue with that, because in a globalized supply chain, even one area being significantly impacted can have significant ramifications. So when we saw the Fukushima disaster in Japan, the supply chain effects rippled around the globe and really had a material impact. The flooding in Thailand, same consequence. So I don't think we can make the case, if it's just geographically limited to China per se, then that's not that big of a deal. It certainly is not limited to China at this point, and so we do know that the consequences in global supply chains will be much more material. One point I will be watching for, this Friday at 8 p.m., we get the first look at the China PMI surveys. Right now, this is official data, so there's a little bit of skepticism about what that number will be, but either they fudge the numbers or it's an astronomically bad outcome. And so obviously markets will be closed at that point, but it's going to get a lot of attention.
Did you guys see the story about Hong Kong giving each of its citizens or folks that live in that city, basically, I think it's about 10,000 Hong Kong. So it's a little bit more than $1,000 or so U.S., but I just thought that was an interesting measure. Helicopter money is, I think.
Well, they've got a significant recession they're contending with, and this just makes it that much worse. So the economic stabilizers need to kick in.
Yeah, and you talk about the global situation. Just a point to keep an eye on. 20 people were being looked at in Brazil today, and it's carnival. So a lot of people down there potentially mingling with people who potentially could be exposed.
There's going to be a lot of focus on this presidential press conference coming up at 6 p.m. today, for sure.
Agreed, because this is what we were all kind of waiting as it gets into more developed nations and when it hits something like the U.S. I mean, until we see some kind of containment or numbers starting to go down and not new cases coming up, it's hard to kind of put any kind of parameters.
And mind you, stocks were up for the day, right? It was when we saw the investigation of Suffolk County in New York and the press conference from Governor Cuomo FOMO that all of a sudden tone of the market's totally moved in the other direction.
Yeah, and we're pretty much hovering around or just off our lows of this session.
Right.
All right, folks, thank you so much. Really
Sure
appreciate
thing.
it, as always. Wear your masks, I'm just going to say. Alex Harris, bond reporter at Bloomberg News, in our Interactive Broker studio, along with Carl Riccadonna, our chief U.S. economist at Bloomberg Economics. But it is interesting, Vince, I keep looking at the virus function on the terminal because there's just new headlines, like you just caught the one about Norway confirming its first positive test of the virus. They just keep coming.
Yeah, and it is going to keep coming because you had the health official in Europe this morning said that they're not closing borders. So you still have a free flow of people, which, of course, we saw what happened in Italy, that a small situation in Italy spread to many countries, and this could possibly be the same thing. We don't know yet.
Kuwait Airways to evacuate citizens from Italy as well. So we continue to see companies pull back their employees who might be exposed. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about semiconductor stocks and the virus's impact on them. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's get back to World and National News headlines and back to Bob Moon.
Carol, grilling for Health Secretary Alex Azar today from lawmakers insisting that the administration needs to ask for enough money to deal with the coronavirus. Azar addressed a big concern related to the outbreak, whether the U.S. will face any drug shortages.
To date, we are not aware of any expected shortages, and we have aggressively, proactively reached out to manufacturers for that information.
President Trump plans a news conference with federal health officials to address the spread of the virus and his administration's response. You can hear it live here on Bloomberg Radio at 6 p.m. Wall Street time. Officials in the state of New York have asked 83 people who may have had potential exposure to the virus to undergo voluntary isolation. At a news conference today, Governor Andrew Cuomo said it's highly probable that what he called America's front door will see a confirmed case eventually.
I want to keep the perspective right. Yes, we're preparing, but this situation is not a situation that should cause undue fear.
The World Health Organization now says more coronavirus infections have been counted outside of China than inside that country. Pope Francis has celebrated the Ash Wednesday ritual in traditional fashion, despite fears of the coronavirus outbreak in Italy. Neither the priests nor the faithful wore face masks, but Rome has largely been spared the virus. Other masses were canceled in northern Italy, where most of the country's 400 cases are clustered. Other Catholic countries took Ash Wednesday precautions. In the Philippines, priests sprinkled ashes on the heads of worshippers rather than making the mark of the cross on people's foreheads. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. I'm Bob Moon.
It's called Bloomberg Daybreak Europe because that's easier to remember than continuously gathered news and analysis from an entire continent.
Are we moving through the worst of the European growth slump?
Bloomberg Daybreak Europe.
Is there a sense that the environment for multinationals in Ireland is becoming a bit more difficult?
Worth remembering.
What indicators are you looking at?
Weekdays at 1 a.m. Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Are you interested in a challenging and exciting career? One where you can be part of solving complex challenges across industries and geographies. Bloomberg's ever-expanding technology, data, news, and media services foster innovation, empower clients, and offer nearly limitless opportunities for career growth. Visit Bloomberg.com/careers today to view our current job opportunities. Bloomberg LP is an equal opportunity employer. The address once again is Bloomberg.com/careers.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
In-depth and
whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, work from home on a Friday jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, Soho jobs, Shoreditch jobs. Keep me away from the central line jobs. Banking jobs, building jobs, never ever boring jobs. Small jobs, big jobs, lunch in Borough Market jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
Will your summer sound like
train is delayed?
or this?
Evening, everybody.
This.
Assistant required.
Or this. This.
Make it a summer of Amex and do more with American Express experiences with exclusive pre-sale tickets for Somerset House Summer Series, Wimbledon and British Summer. Time in Hyde Park. Search Why Amex. Subject to availability, terms apply.
It's not always obvious, but 1 in 5 people in the UK are disabled. So if we're sitting in the priority seats on the bus or train, lost in our books or wrapped up in the latest box set, let's not forget about the people we share our journeys with. Let's pop out of our shells every now and then and ask if someone needs that seat more than us. Remember, it's everyone's journey.
The famous 5 were at home discussing their next adventure. "Let's visit Tower Bridge," said Dick. "Or Cardiff Castle," added Julian. "St Michael's Mount," cried Anne. Dick jumped up. "Wherever we're going, we'll need to leave right now." "Relax," said George. "It's faster than you think by train. Anyway, we can't go yet. You're still in your pyjamas." With faster journeys across our network, adventures are closer than you think. Great Western Railway. Adventures start here. Terms and conditions apply. Selected routes only.
Fill the trolley with your favourite brands on rollback at Asda. A 38-pack of Fairy Non-Bio capsules was £8.50, now £5.75. A Lenore Gold fabric conditioner was £4, now £2.50. Big brands, small prices. Don't compromise. Asda. Save money, live better. Selected stores subject to availability. Lenore 1.925 litres, ends 18th of March.
LED headlights. Heated front seats. 2-zone climatronic control. Selected Volkswagen Golf models now have more extras squeezed into them than ever before. And during our golf event from the 14th to the 29th of February, we'll also squeeze in a £500 customer saving and 0% APR.
With Solutions Personal Contract Plan available on stock vehicles only. Ordered by 29th February 2020 and handed over by 31st March 2020. 18 plus subject to status. Excludes all Golf 8, Estate and SV models. Indemnities may be required. Volkswagen Financial Services. Visit volkswagen.co.uk.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit tunein.com/premium to upgrade.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Headlines and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. What a choppy day it has been. Right now we've got the S&P NASDAQ back on the plus side, the Dow on the minus side. Lots going on, fast-moving markets. Got us keep it locked into Bloomberg for the latest, but let's head right over to the first word breaking news desk for today's afternoon call. Here he is, Bill Maloney.
And good afternoon, Charlie. U.S. stocks faded from their session highs after the German health minister said that Germany is at the beginning of a coronavirus epidemic, while the FDA official warned that the coronavirus is on a path to becoming a pandemic. S&Ps are now up 5 points. Dow's currently up 5 as well, was up 461 points, while the NASDAQ climbs by 55. The U.S. 10-year yield dropped to a record low, gold trading higher by 11. Small caps fall 10 points, and just 3 of the main 11 S&P sectors are trading high, with gains in tech, healthcare, and telecom. Energy led to the downside. Nasdaq Biotechs gain 37, transports fall 189, semis rise 0.5%, and the VIX is little changed. Leaders to the upside in the Dow, Pfizer, 3M, and Apple, while Disney fell 4% and led to the downside. In deal news, Brinks to buy a majority of G4S cash operations for $860 million. And wrapping things up, some of the names pointing after the bell tonight include Marriott and Square. Live from the first breaking news desk, I'm Bill Maloney. Charlie.
Okay, we thank you very much, Bill. And to hear live breaking news over your Bloomberg, type Squawk, SQUAWK, on your terminal. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Thank you so much, Charlie Pellet. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week, watching us too on YouTube. Carol Massar, Jason Kelly off in Signorella here with me. And we're going to talk a little bit about the semiconductor space because, man, they were on fire last year. As a whole, the stocks was up about 60% in 2019. Down, though, this year, like most of the equity markets, down about 5% so far. Let's get some thoughts on the chip space, specifically the impact of the virus. Dan Morgan is Vice President and Senior Portfolio Manager, friend of the show, knows this space so well. He's over at Synovus Trust Company. They have roughly $25.1 billion in assets under management. Dan, once again, on the phone from Atlanta. So, Dan, good to have you here. I know Jason will miss you, but Vince is a great person to talk about this space.
Nice. I've been warned about Vince.
I worry about me too.
As you should be. As you should be. So, Vince and I were talking about this coming into it, and we're like, where exactly, trying to understand like the virus impact on this industry, where exactly is all of the chip manufacturing that goes on? Where does it happen?
Well, Carol, what's tough for the chip sector, as you know, is they are kind of the plankton of the overall technology sector, right? Mm-hmm. Everything has chips. I mean, even software needs chips in its in its processing to run and so forth. So I think why the street is reacting the way they are is what you just said, Carol, which is, a large portion of the manufacturing that goes on to make chips like Apple, in that Pacific Rim area. And then also, you think about companies like Texas Instruments and Qualcomm, they have almost 50% of their revenues coming from China, and a host of other names that we all know, Applied Materials, Intel, Advanced Micro Devices, Nvidia, almost 25-30% of their revenues coming out of China. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right, Carol and Vince? And that is that not only are the manufacturing facilities there, which causes problems with building the actual chip, right, and the health of your workforce and so forth, but also your end demand in terms of, what markets are you selling into, and China is a big market for them. So that's why that sector has been hit so hard. And, Carol, you and I have had this conversation before, and that is that, the SOX was trading above the previous peak that it achieved before we had the down sale that occurred in 2018 with the tariffs. We went beyond that, and like you said, last year it was one of the best performing groups. So, it's been priced for perfection, right? There is no room for error. So obviously that group has got to pull back based on this news.
A question I have for you, Dan, is when I talk to people, like you just said, chips are in everything, there's a bit of a lead time to order. So you look at your demand maybe 6 months out, so you're ordering for 6 months out. The virus kind of came on us by surprise. Is there inventory for these products, or are they going to come up short?
Well, I don't know if it's so much in terms of an inventory issue. I think the biggest issue was that we were all waiting, and Carol and Jason and I had a conversation about this, for the overall chip demand cycle to really start to move in the second half of 2020. Originally, we were thinking second half of 2019. It got pushed out. Everybody's excited about 5G, driverless vehicles. You probably noticed NVIDIA had a great demand cycle on their data center chips that are used in the cloud space. So everybody was kind of getting excited about that. So, Vince, I think you're right. I mean, you've got issues in terms of ordering. I don't think it's going to be an inventory issue because, to be quite frank, they were working down inventories coming into this. So I think it's more going to be, hey, wait a minute, can we still count on this recovery that we're banking on in the second half of 2020 that already got pushed out a year? Now all of a sudden we have the virus. Do we have to even push it out further? And then how do we substantiate these multiples?
That is a really, really good point. What I would be curious if it's even possible, if the situation does linger, are there other places to go for the chips? When you look at supply chain, it's one thing if you're creating, if you're making clothing or selling clothing, it's easy to move from one place to another and change your supply chain. Chips, pretty special kind of category, isn't it? A lot more difficult to do.
I would think so. Not only that, in the Pacific Rim is where they have a lot of their manufacturing factories.
No place
you
to hide.
Don't pull it up and move it over to somewhere to Ireland, let's say, because you get a good tax cut. I mean, these, they're hunkered down in there. I mean, the labor costs are so unbelievably low. I've looked at the average wage of someone who works in an Apple factory or a chip factory. I mean, it's like, oh my God. And they have very few, benefits like we do here in the U.S. So from a cost of labor perspective, they're probably going to stick it out. It's just, like you say, kind of riding this thing out and working through it. But I don't think the inventory issue is going to be as big as everybody thinks. I think it's more just of, pushing out things like, everybody's excited about Apple with their 5G phone, right? Coming out in the September quarter. And now we have a shareholder meeting together. Is that all going to materialize? And then how's that going to affect all the people in the ecosystem that supply supply the Apple phone? So I think that's what everyone's up against right now.
Dan, really quick, 20 seconds. Is there anybody, though, that you pick up on this pullback, whether it's AMD or Intel? Just quickly.
Real quick, Carol, Texas Instruments, I think, is kind of interesting in this space. Also, Applied Materials, those would be two names that you could kind of focus on that have been hit hard because of this news, and those are solid citizens in the chip space.
Yeah, got it. And we've got TI now down about 7% so far this year, and Applied Materials, AMAT, down about 1.6%. Dan Morgan, thank you so much. Dan is Vice President, Senior Portfolio Manager at Synovus Trust Company. They've got roughly $25.1 billion in assets under management, joining us once again on the phone from Atlanta. So I feel like I learned something.
Yeah, I was really informative. You read my mind. I was wondering who the winner of this category
like, what do you do now? Yeah. All right, coming up, we're going to get the chart of the day from our own Dave Wilson, and then we'll count you down to the closing bell on this, what's been pretty much a volatile day of trading. This is Bloomberg.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks are mostly lower in the final hour, with Wall Street still in the grip of coronavirus fears. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 143. The S&P 500 down 11. The Nasdaq Composite is up 6. Amazon has caught a case of coronavirus as some of its third-party merchants cut back on ad spending. Many are worried about running out of goods that come from China. That could mean higher prices as supplies shrink. The Geneva Car Show will go on next week despite the epidemic. Hundreds of employees and executives from some of the world's biggest car makers will be on hand for the event. Switzerland reported its first coronavirus case yesterday. Panasonic is pulling out of its partnership with Tesla to make solar panels at a factory near Buffalo, New York. The move, which comes as Panasonic streamlines its solar energy operations, is not expected to affect Tesla's solar business plans. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in Philadelphia. Local time is 3:05 p.m. and the temperature is 67 degrees. At this time, you are now free to use your cellular devices.
You know that feeling when you get to turn your phone on after the plane lands? You can have that feeling every time you drive. Make sure your cell phone is stowed away whenever you are behind the wheel.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Are you interested in a challenging and exciting career? One where you can be part of solving complex challenges across industries and geographies. Bloomberg's ever-expanding technology, data, news, and media services foster innovation, empower clients, and offer nearly limitless opportunities for career growth. Visit Bloomberg.com/careers today to view our current job opportunities. Bloomberg LP is an equal opportunity employer. The address once again is Bloomberg.com/careers. In-depth.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Are you curious what others are listening to on TuneIn? Head to the trending section under Browse to see the most popular stations and podcasts among TuneIn listeners right now. Check it out. You might just discover something new for yourself.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Start hearing more of what you want. Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations, live commercial-free news, and every live NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL game. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
25 years ago, NJIT graduate Dick Sweeney co-founded Keurig Green Mountain, a company whose incredible innovations changed the way the world brews a cup of coffee. Today, he lectures widely on business leadership and is a strong advocate for NJIT's work to combine business education with the power of STEM.
NJIT is definitely fostering the innovative thinking for budding entrepreneurs simply because that's the world we live in. NJIT is producing students that have been trained, educated, and given the business acumen to be a contributor to a company. The distinct mission is to develop great STEM scholars. The attributes I've always looked for in team members are heart, smarts, guts, and luck. So we want people with passion, intelligence, courage, and never discount luck. The student coming out of NJIT has experienced all of that.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their businesses strategically, yet the most competitive managers in the market know with the right partner and a flexible operating system, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
I'm Steve Meyer, president of SEI's Investment Manager Services. At SEI, we understand the emerging forces that will define success for asset managers and what firms will need to compete tomorrow. That's why we continually optimize SEI's global operating platform. If your business requires greater agility, our advanced technology, integrated best-in-class systems, and multi-asset expertise can be your catalyst for business transformation.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba, please be done. Over and over and over and over and over. Then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Bloomberg Daybreak Asia.
Are you seeing a lot more buying power on the part of younger people in China?
Financial news made in Asia for use everywhere.
It is a bit of a waiting game.
Tonight at 6 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio. Bloomberg, the world is listening. Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
You are listening and watching on YouTube, Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Massar along with Vince Signorella, Jason Kelly off on assignment. So coming up, we're going to check in with Dave Wilson. Vince, he's got his chart of the day, and I saw a little bit of the headline. It has something to do with Warren Buffett. You're laughing.
I'm laughing. I always enjoy Dave's chart of the day because they're always clever.
They're really smart. People love them. All right, we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's get back to your top business stories and an update on the trading day. Here is, once again, Charlie.
All right, I thank you very much. But one of the best parts of chart of the day is the music leading into it. Do you know that song? Stick around and find out just a couple of minutes from now. We have got the Dow and the S&P. They are both declining right now. NASDAQ pushing higher. We've got NASDAQ up 27 points, a gain there of 0.3%. Equities trading near the lows of the day, and what a day it has been as investors digest a barrage of reports on the widening coronavirus outbreak. A volatile session. Now keep in mind that at the best level of the day, the Dow had been up 461 points. Right now, the Dow is down 56. That's a drop of 0.2%. We have got the S&P 500 index lower by 2, down 0.1%. NASDAQ swinging between gains and losses, was trading again below 9,000, up 35 right now, higher by 0.4%. Disney CEO Bob Chapek taking the helm at a perilous time for the company in China. The deadly coronavirus outbreak has forced Disney to temporarily shut its Shanghai and Hong Kong theme parks, while cinemas across the mainland remain closed, raising the likelihood of postponing planned film debuts in the country. Last night we got word that Bob Iger was stepping down. Geeta Raghunatham is a media analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence.
The timing was really a surprise. We know that Bob Iger's contract runs through the end of next year, and I think investors were kind of really expecting an announcement in 2021. So him announcing 22 months earlier was definitely a little bit of a surprise.
Indeed, Disney shares down now by 3.5%. Papa John's International shares lower after the pizza chain reported earnings that suggest little growth for its North American locations this year, along with concerns about the coronavirus. Papa John's slumping 10.3%. Domino's shares their lower as well today, down by 0.2%. Canada's become the latest test kitchen of choice for fake meat tryouts. Starbucks adding a meat alternative breakfast sandwich to a majority of its more than 1,500 locations in Canada. Starbucks shares down 1.3%. McDonald's already there, down 0.8%. Beyond Meat shares up by 3.2%. 10-year 1.33%. We've got gold up by 0.4%, 16.41 the ounce. Recapping, S&P down 7, down 0.2%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Much appreciated, Charlie. Charlie Pellet with the Bloomberg Business News Flash right here on Bloomberg Business Week on Bloomberg Radio.
But if crying and holding on and flying on the ground is wrong,
this isn't even fair, Dave.
You're right. It's not.
Is this like the 60s?
It is the 60s.
Or at least I got that right.
Way to go.
It sounded like, somebody like, it isn't, but it's like
Is it
Hermits,
Buffalo Springfield?
Something.
You win. Way to go, Carol Massar.
And can I just say thank you, Paul Brennan, for looking at me like, how the heck did she get that? It's like, I don't even know.
Only because you were looking at Paul Brennan, you didn't see me.
I have my methods.
Yeah. I'm sure you had some help somewhere. But, of course, the lead singer on that particular song, Richie Furay, went on to co-found Poco. And, of course, the band also had Stephen Stills and Neil Young.
It's pretty amazing the people that came out of that band, right?
Absolutely. So
you're all impressed, aren't you? They're all shocked. You should see this. They're like, what happened?
I thought just knowing it came from the 60s was pretty cool, but
it was impressive.
All
right, Dave Wilson. So take us to your chart of the day because it's a good one.
The title is Flying on the Ground is Wrong. It came to mind after going back and looking at the performance of those 4 largest U.S. airlines in which Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway invested back in 2016. Of course, they came out, Berkshire did, with the annual shareholder letter, 3 of those 4 are among the top 15 holdings of Berkshire. At least they were at the end of last year. So, their performance matters in the context of Berkshire's overall equity holdings. So when you run the numbers, and of course they have been affected, the airlines, by the coronavirus, like a whole lot of other companies have.
Right.
But even before then, you look at Delta, Southwest, United, all trailing the S&P 500. And in fact, yesterday, you had United and Southwest both turning lower from the end of 2016. And I picked that time frame because by then, Berkshire had pretty much done its buying in the airlines. They've bought a few here and sold a few there since then. But that's really where the bulk of the holdings were accumulated in that second half of 2016. And then you look at American. What a disaster that stock has been.
I was trying to make sure that was American and not United. My goodness, that's like horrible.
Down by more than 50% as of today, since the end of 2016. Now, folks over at Bloomberg Television ran the numbers yesterday. One of my colleagues over there, Peter Dioteris, came up with it all using that annual letter. And Berkshire was ahead in total by about $800 million as of yesterday, based on what they actually paid for their respective stakes in the 4 carriers. So it's not a complete disaster, but you look at these stocks and they sure are flying on the ground.
Wasn't he the one who said that phrase about airlines? Like, why would you? I can't remember. It was really clever. Like, why would anybody basically invest them? Wasn't he the one who said that?
Yeah, that's another reason I decided to take a look at this. In the late 90s, he talked about how, I'm Warren Buffett and I'm an aeroholic. That's the phrase. So it's like, I have a number, and somebody talked to me off the ledge when I decided to buy airline stocks.
Well, no. You're right. He said in 2008, a far-sighted investor would have done future investing generations a favor by shooting down Orville Wright's plane or something.
Yeah, there's that too.
That's the one that I remember, that he was like, right, but nonetheless he invested.
Yeah, and in the last few years, the airlines' fortunes picked up and Berkshire's decided to invest them. They have something on the order of 10% stakes in all 4 of those carriers, American, Delta, Southwest, United. And now, well, let's just say that they have kind of come out of the skies.
But they had a few years, right, where they I'm going back to 2013, 2014. I mean, it was just year after year.
Yeah, post the financial crisis and post 9/11.
As the old saying goes, timing is everything. And if you haven't had time to take a look at this chart, folks, send me an email. I'll get it to you with the explanation that goes with it and everything I do going forward. The email address is dwilson@bloomberg.net. That's dwilson@bloomberg.net.
What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say Choo Choo Charlie was better off sticking with the railroads.
Burlington, Northern Santa Fe. I'm sure there are a whole lot of people would agree with that.
All right, that's a good one. And just a reminder, I did get the song, everybody.
Well, you got the band. Let's not push it too hard. I mean, that was impressive enough. All
right. I just take a little things. All right, Dave Wilson, thank you so much. Dave's going to be back a little bit later on with his stock of the day. Let's just remind everybody where we are in the markets, because we have bounced around a bit. Dow Jones Industrial Average right now down about 51 points. S&P 500 a decline of about 3, and the Nasdaq still bucking that downward trend, but about a gain of about 32 points. But everything near its lows of the day. All right, let's get back to World and National News headlines. For that, let's check in once again with Bob Moon in our 1130 newsroom. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Carol. The mayor of America's largest city held a news conference today to address New York City's preparations for the coronavirus. Mayor Bill de Blasio called on the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to broaden the number of countries included in its testing regimen for travelers. He says it's now too narrowly focused on travelers coming from China.
I am urging the CDC and the federal government to add the testing protocol upon entry for visitors from Hong Kong, Iran, Italy, Japan, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand.
De Blasio says public health officials already have distributed 1.5 million surgical masks throughout the city. The World Health Organization said today more coronavirus infections have now been counted outside of China than inside that country. How to get control of high-ticket tickets. That was the focus of a House subcommittee hearing from companies that sell tickets to concerts and sporting events, Bloomberg's Irv Chapman reports.
Executives differ depending on whether their firms sell the original ticket or try to resell at a higher price, or both. Amy Howe is president of Ticketmaster.
If you look at those states that allow artists to restrict transfer, Pearl Jam is selling a $98 ticket, $5 charitable fee, and there's virtually no inventory on the resale market. In those two states, New York and Colorado, where they've pulled that right away from the artists, you're seeing thousands of tickets on the secondary market for $7,000.
Congress passed a law 4 years ago banning computer programs, bots, that scoop up popular tickets. The executives agreed that it isn't being enforced. On Capitol Hill, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. I'm Bob Moon.
Business is constantly evolving. Is your financial printer evolving to keep ahead of the curve? At Command Financial, we are redefining financial printing by providing industry-leading expertise, leveraging technology, and honing processes and best practices. Every day, Command helps SEC registrants, as well as members of their working groups, including securities attorneys and investment bankers, prepare, file, and disseminate regulatory and disclosure documents, such as registration statements, M&A documents, and mutual fund prospectuses and reports. Command provides a full range of services to help you effectively complete your deal, meet your disclosure requirements, and achieve your shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion or your race, because you have children or a disability.
It's so wrong. Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. The law is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit HUD.gov/fairhousing. That's HUD.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, work from home on a Friday jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, Soho jobs, Shoreditch jobs. Keep me away from the central line jobs. Banking jobs, building jobs, never ever boring jobs. Small jobs, big jobs, lunch in Borough Market jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
Like what you're listening to? Want to make getting back to it easier? Use the favorite button to keep track of the stations and podcasts you love on TuneIn. Just tap or click the heart icon to add it to your favorites. Then find all your go-to audio under the Favorites tab. Pretty easy, right?
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow and TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn. The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
So please don't text and drive.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then try Babbel for free by texting EXPLORE to 64,000. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or text EXPLORE to 64,000 and try it for free. Text EXPLORE to 64,000.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. We've got 13 minutes to go ahead of the closing bell. What a session it has been. Very choppy trading. The S&P now lower by 2, down 0.1%. Stick around right through the close to see where things shake out. We've got the Dow down 54 points now. That is a drop of 0.2%. Earlier today, the Dow had been up 461. That was a gain of 1.7%. NASDAQ holding on to gains here, up by 27. That's an advance right now of 0.3%. 10-year yield 1.33%. Gold up 0.4%. 16.42 the ounce. And West Texas Intermediate crude down 2.4%. 48.72 a barrel. So again, recapping here, the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all trading mixed. S&P down 4 now, a drop there of 0.2%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
I'm driving in my car. I turn on the radio.
How about you let me drive? Oh, no.
He's gonna drive you home.
Honey, please, I'll do the driving.
Drive on.
Excuse me, I want to drive.
Just drive, baby.
It's the question that drives us.
This is the drive to the close.
That funky music will drive us till the dawn.
On Bloomberg Radio.
So our next guest advises against buying the recent dip in stocks. Let's get into the drive to the close. Back with us is Wayne Wicker, Chief Investment Officer at Vantage Point Investment Advisors, about $29.6 billion in assets under management. Wayne, back with us on the phone from Washington, D.C. Wayne, nice to have you here with Vince and myself. Jason's off. So let's talk a little bit about this. You say, what? Don't buy the dips right now. Why?
Well, I think that for short-term traders, there's really no reason to jump in and buy at this juncture. A couple of weeks ago, this market was considered to be flawless, and this week, with some of the talk about the coronavirus, it seems to be hopeless. And
but might it be flawless again in another couple of weeks? Like, I do feel like it's a market environment where we see investors react pretty quickly once they kind of get off their seat, and they do react quickly, but they can react, quickly in the other direction if the news flow changes.
This is absolutely a market where you're afraid to be in and you're afraid to be out. And so that's why you're seeing a bit of volatility going on here today. But I think that, bond markets are probably telling a story that this could be a little bit longer in duration than what we might have anticipated a couple of weeks ago. We've seen today the 10-year hit a new low at 133. We started the year at 192. So that has been driven by a risk-off trade that I think is sometimes a foreboding for, what's going to happen over the next few weeks. And unfortunately, none of us know what the depth or dispersion of the coronavirus will be. And so I think that while long-term, I think it's going to present ultimately a really great opportunity for long-term investors to add to the market. I don't necessarily believe that today or tomorrow is the day that you need to feel compelled to jump in.
I feel like we're like blood buddies here. I did a story this morning on how have bonds gone too far because they're still seeing major risks in this market, or have stocks just not fallen far enough? And I'm kind of in your camp. I think the equity market has not priced in, like we saw today when just news that people were being evaluated in New York City, the market flipped over in a heartbeat. And if we get reports that there are people with the virus in North America, I think that we'll see that shock and then some.
I couldn't agree more. I think that there could be another leg to fall, but as we've seen with every other type of virus that has hit society over decades, you can go back to the West Nile virus, or everybody refers to the SARS virus in 2002, and while each of these have a devastating impact, unfortunately, with loss of life. In the scheme of a long-term investor, they are very short-lived periods of time, and then the market gets back to focusing on fundamentals, which ultimately should drive stock prices.
Do you have any particular levels you're looking at? I know you said today and tomorrow not really where you would step in. Is there a sort of a level in the S&P or some type of pullback where you think it would be an attractive place for long-term investors to step in?
Well, I think that it's important to recognize that, this is probably the first time we've had a significant sell-off since the fourth quarter of 2018. That went on to have a sell-off of about 18%. Do I think we're going to get to 18%? I guess it's in the realm of possibilities, but I wouldn't be anticipating that. But it's really not uncommon for us to be down 10%, a couple times in a given year. Last year we got spoiled, and that didn't occur. But if we have a 10% decline or more, I think it's at a point there where people can start to think about, if I have a long-term orientation and I want to add to my asset mix that probably has been reduced because markets are down by 10, 15%, I think they should have their shopping basket ready to go.
Okay. One of the things that sort of worried me is I'm seeing some people, anecdotal evidence, people saying that because of the exuberance, you will, what we've seen in stock prices in January, that retail investors have stepped in a big way. To me, as a former trader, that always spells the end of any rally. Is that something you sense or you're worried about, or you don't think that that's really the case?
Well, I think that the entire asset management business doesn't really appreciate if the retail market has actually stepped into equities, because we continue to see an outflow from active equities. And on the index side of things, I'm sure that's the case. And in that case, I think that those that are playing a larger cap game are at an advantage, because if that is true, that retail investors are putting more money in, and the general trend is towards passive management. We know that at least 5 names constitute about 18% of the S&P these days. So that is an area where I think portfolio managers have to be sensitive to see where they position relative to the benchmark.
Hey, I do want to bring in a headline just crossing from the World Health Organization saying that the most new virus cases now emerging outside of China. And in keeping with that, we do want to update everyone that at 6:30 p.m. Wall Street time, the president and members of the coronavirus task force will hold a news conference in the James Brady press briefing room. So we'll get an update in terms of U.S. policy and plans and concerns when it comes to the coronavirus. But I do wonder, Wayne, just got about a minute left here. When is it, at some point, do you start to take into account what's going on with the coronavirus in terms of, I know everybody wants to be long-term investors. I get it, but it already is impacting companies and certainly will impact their business. Is there at some point that you do start to think about maybe a safer play for your investors?
Well, I think that hopefully investors already have a diversified portfolio and they're not totally all in, unless you're my son's age at 21 in equities at this point. So I think that it provides them with an opportunity to think about their current asset allocations appropriate, and as markets tend to shift, it may be an opportunity to rebalance. And I think the most important thing, and I've said it on your program before, is not trying to time the market, but time in the market that's most important. And that way, I think you avoid both the issue of raising cash or going to a different asset class, and then having to make the decision of getting back into equities, which is really a challenge to do.
All right. We're going to leave it, I think, at that point. Wayne Wicker is Chief Investment Officer at Vantage Point Investment Advisors, $29.6 billion in assets under management. On the phone from Washington, D.C. You were going to say something, though, weren't you?
I was wondering what your Wayne's maybe second favorite asset class would be outside of equities.
Oh, that's a good question. Darn.
Oh, well.
I'm sorry.
We'll catch him the next time.
What would be yours second favorite?
I don't know. That's why I was going to ask him. I was looking for a little help.
Well, see, that's the thing that makes me wonder, especially if rates continue to go lower. I mean, if you're seeking, like at some point, do investors say, I still have to go back to the equity market?
Yeah, that fixed income isn't my favorite place. Because 1.3% in the 10-year. How much
and
more
we know what's
get?
going on with Bitcoin. All right, stick around. We've got the closing bell.
Leaders are born.
What does it take to get the markets back on the rails?
Born leaders are here.
The timeline for that can be slow.
Bloomberg Daybreak, weekday mornings at 5 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
This is a Bloomberg Pursuits look at luxury. Although the Geneva Motor Show isn't starting for a week, Volvo got ahead of the game by unveiling the
Discover Cork with Aer Lingus when you fly from London for $55.99 each way as part of a return trip. Experience this vibrant city and head to the coast for authentic Irish seafood and stunning scenery. Smart enjoys a short break in Ireland. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at airlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
What am I saving for? My passion, food photography.
I trained to be a landscape garden designer.
Open a food store and sell my famous fish tacos.
I go to stuntman school.
I'd be a wedding planner.
I'd start a dog grooming business. Sorry, we'd start a dog grooming business.
What are you waiting for? Make your one day happen with a Fidelity Stocks and Shares ISA. Your capital is at risk. Tax rules may change. Full terms for our Stocks and Shares ISA are available on our website. 18 plus UK residents.
Fill the trolley with your favourite brands on rollback at Asda. A 38-pack of Fairy Non-Bio capsules was £8.50, now £5.75. A Lenore Gold fabric conditioner was £4, now £2.50. Big brands, small prices. Don't compromise. Asda. Save money, live better. Selected stores subject to availability. Lenore 1.925 litres. Ends 18th of March.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
World 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. Mixed session, wild day on Wall Street. Folks from WEX ringing that closing bell. Equities traded near the lows of the day as investors digested a barrage of reports on the widening coronavirus outbreak. The dollar advanced, S&P swinging between gains and losses for much of the session. End of the day down by 11 points. That was a drop of 0.4%. Dow Industrials, which have been up as many as 461 points, ended the session with a loss of 119. 120 now is the number settled there, down by 0.4%. NASDAQ, though, had an up day. It, too, was swinging between gains and losses. Bottom line, an up day there, higher by 15, up by 0.2%. Got to join us tonight for Bloomberg Daybreak Asia to see how those Asian markets react tonight. Again, mixed day on Wall Street, 10-year yield 1.34%. As for the overall market backdrop, Wayne Wicker is Chief Investment Officer at Vantage Point Point Investment Advisors. He was our guest right here on Bloomberg Business Week.
This is absolutely a market where you're afraid to be in and you're afraid to be out. And so that's why you're seeing a bit of volatility going on here today. But I think that, bond markets are probably telling a story that this could be a little bit longer in duration than what we might have anticipated a couple of weeks ago.
And we are awaiting the latest numbers out of both Limited Brands, parent of Victoria's Secret, and also Marriott International. Going to be very interesting to see what Marriott has to say about the outlook given the backdrop with coronavirus. Shares of Limited Brands today did advance by just about 3.1%. Well, stocks have almost bouncing back from their worst sell-off since December of 2018, but economist Dennis Gartman warned this is not a dip worth buying. Gartman, who last year ended his daily newsletter after 3 decades, said, quote, equities are egregiously overvalued relative to measures such as sales, profits, and the size of the economy. Again, the price of gold today up by 0.3%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Your next move will be your last.
Nobody move a muscle.
Damn, Stippy, you got to move.
And I'm moving from town to town.
Time is money. Let's go. Come on, move it.
Shake it up. Shake it up.
Bloomberg Business Week, Movers and Shakers, with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
It's time to take a look at some of the stocks on the move. In Signorella, in for Jason Kelly on this Wednesday, and we got a lot to get through, so let me do it. Quick check on the S&P 500. 119 names in the index, higher today, 384 lower, 2 unchanged. Booking holding, let's go right to it because that stock, Vince, coming out with their earnings after the closing bell. Ticker is BKNG. First quarter adjusted, the outlook here, EPS 905 to 965. That looks like a big miss. The estimate is for $11.86 a share. Fourth quarter revenue, that was a little bit better than forecast. Fourth quarter adjusted EPS, that too was a beat, but man, that outlook, and I just want to take a look at the stock here in the after hours. It's down about 5%. So no surprise if that's the outlook numbers. And I'm assuming maybe some of it has to do with the virus.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard to see travel companies making numbers and not forecasting a decline in revenue.
But wouldn't you, right? Wouldn't you just throw it in?
You would think like this is a great time to say, whoop, this is where we're going to be, and then maybe next quarter you beat.
Yeah, exactly. So that first quarter, again, adjusted EPS, that looks like a big miss. So that stock, as I said, down about 5% in the after hours. You were looking at 2 interesting stocks.
Yeah, and we're all talking about the downside of things, and there are some winners that came out of this. This VIR Biotech, they've collaborating on a coronavirus antibody. Shares up 28%.
Wow. It's a smaller cap, right?
Yeah, these are small caps. One other was Co-Diagnostic. Price more than doubled to a record high on Wednesday. It literally triggered a trading halt. This is another company. They do testing developed with the CDC, and they producing another virus alternative.
So it rallied today. Do you know what that stock is up this year? It's up 894% so far this year.
It's pretty cool, right? It's 100% just today.
Yeah, exactly. So a real big move. But yeah, those are interesting names to always look at, right? And they react to the news.
It's like I wouldn't have known this yesterday, but people have always talked about where even in bad times there's good plays. Then where do you go?
I always tell you one of my first shows I did was a mutual fund show, and that's exactly what we did. We would look at what was going on in the news and figure out which mutual funds do you buy based on it. And unfortunately, like disasters, you would buy like building companies or cement companies because they would go up. Not going up though, seeing some selling pressure today was a stock that we talked about earlier, and that is Disney. Stock did finish off its lows of the day. It was down 4.7% on its lows. At the close, though, down about 3.8%. And that's all about an executive suite. Bob Iger out as CEO. He will still be at the company, but Bob Chapek, who used to run or who was in charge of the parks and consumer products, he's now taking over at the company. But again, changing of the guard and changing of the top spot, that certainly makes investors a little bit nervous.
Yeah, and it always amuses me when you have that situation, a stock goes up 5% the next day.
I know.
And you think, oh, that poor guy who's walking out the door. And so Bob can hang his head high. Obviously investors really appreciated his performance.
They've loved him. Executive suite changes. We heard about Disney after the close yesterday. Salesforce also talking about its co-CEO stepping aside. Mark Benioff, who founded the company, he's going to take over as CEO. And they also did come out with their quarterly update, but that stock was down about 1.3%. Again, in an overall down market, but nonetheless, stock did open also lower when we did see some gains earlier on. So again, Salesforce closing at 178.87, a share down 1.3%.
Yeah, and given these markets, if you're going to be down or you're going to miss, this is a good time to do it because you've got all the excuses in the world.
Yeah, exactly. TJX, I want to mention, I was thinking this stock is your number one gainer in the S&P 500. And yes, probably because I did some shopping this month. Unfortunately, I hope my husband isn't listening. Stock's up 7.25% here at the close, $64.05 a share. Man, this is a retailer that really, most people will say, has figured it out. It's up about 5% so far this year, and it surged after their sales numbers jumping, posting sales that far outpaced Wall Street estimates. So the stock jumping the most in 2 years. Comp store sales grew by 6% in the fourth quarter, almost double the 3.2% growth that analysts had predicted. So that stock just took off.
Yeah, it's showing off-price retailers and people looking for bargains doing way better than the big shops.
Right. Consumers love that idea of kind of finding a name. Just quickly, the VIX actually down for the day. It was up 6.2% at its highs, but finished the day down 1.3%. That's an interesting trade. 27.49. This is Bloomberg.
All right, Dave, you're up.
Hi, my name is Dave.
Wilson, where are you? Wilson!
Just what do you think you're doing, Dave?
We're going for a price on Wilson.
Open up the door, it's Dave. Who? Dave.
Hey, Mr. Wilson! You love this theme song. Vince loves this theme song.
This is my favorite part
one.
of the show. Honestly, favorite part of the show.
All right, Dave Wilson's here with his stock of the day. What do you got for us?
Inspire Medical Systems, Carol. It's a maker of a treatment for sleep apnea, a condition in which breathing constantly starts and stops. The product consists of a device implanted in a patient's neck and chest and a remote control to turn the device on and off. It's an alternative to using a CPAP machine. Mm-hmm. That's the most popular treatment.
Seems like a serious alternative.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Anyway, certainly investors are taking it that way. Inspire Medical was founded in 2007 when the technology was spun out of device maker Medtronic. The company went public in May 2018. The ticker is INSP. First four letters of the first name. Inspire Medical more than tripled from its initial price during the first 4 months of trading. The stock then worked its way higher irregularly before surging again starting in October. And the latest advance gained momentum today after Inspire Medical came out with fourth quarter results. The company had a narrower loss and higher revenue than analysts expected based on the Bloomberg survey. Its sales forecast for this year exceeded projections as well. Inspire Medical shares climbed as much as 21% in response to the results and set a record. And they didn't manage to hang on to most of that gain. Nonetheless, they did close higher by 8%.
Yeah, interesting. Stock's up about 14% this year. It's a $2 billion stock.
It's fantastic technology because I've known people who've used the mask, and it's really cumbersome and very uncomfortable.
Right.
And I've only seen commercials actually for this. I don't know exactly how it works, but the person on the screen doesn't have anything on them. No device, just a little remote control.
It's a very different way of dealing with it. All right, Dave Wilson, thank you for drawing our attention to it. Let's get a check on the latest world and national news headlines. Ed Baxter, what are you watching out there in San Francisco?
Well, there in your state, health officials in Nassau County, Carroll, New York say they're monitoring 83 people who visited China, may have come in contact with the coronavirus. But Governor Andrew Cuomo says the state has no confirmed cases thus far.
You may have a large number of people with flu-like symptoms who need healthcare attention, and that would be our hospital network.
Now, He says preparations are underway and the situation should not cause undue fear. And coming in just in the past 10 minutes, the World Health Organization has just sent out an update saying today marks the most new infections outside of China globally. President Donald Trump will hold a news conference this evening, Wall Street, it's a moving target. Now, it was set for 6. We're hearing it may be 6:30. The president had said in the last few days that there was no problem and the problem would be over in April. Yesterday, the CDC said it was going into full preparation mode and expect a spread. So we'll see what the president says later. Meanwhile, his HHS secretary, Alex Azar, says the department has drained the existing funds to fight the corona.
We are at the point now where we have used or where we have either committed or obligated the monies in that $105 million rapid response fund.
And the president has asked Congress for another $2.5 billion. Heading into South Carolina, Joe Biden has picked up the endorsement of power broker James Clyburn.
Expect people to drop out sometime after Super Tuesday next week, and that would mean that in the next round of contests in the weeks to come, this field will be very much more narrow. And
Kevin Cirilli there, Bloom.
Two people who are as fascinated by the markets as you are.
What's your sense of the competitive landscape in the cloud business?
Lisa Abramowitz.
People were talking about potential regulatory pressure.
And Paul Sweeney.
Are you seeing flows into ESG ETFs?
Bloomberg Markets.
What's your main conversation today with some of these corporate executives?
Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern.
They're spending a lot of money there.
On Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Are you interested in a challenging and exciting career? One where you can be part of solving complex challenges across industries and geographies? Bloomberg's ever-expanding technology, data, news, and media services foster innovation, empower clients, and offer nearly limitless opportunities for career growth. Visit Bloomberg.com/careers today to view our current job opportunities. Bloomberg LP is an equal opportunity employer. The address once again is Bloomberg.com/careers.
You're fierce. You take care of business and don't hold back. Taking care of your health shouldn't be any different. You know when something's off. Don't ignore symptoms like fatigue, joint pain, and rashes. Listen to your body. It could be lupus. We're here to help you take control. Learn how at BeFierceTakeControl.org. Brought to you by the Lupus Foundation of America and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
A half-price dream holiday, wouldn't want to miss that. A takeaway for free, wouldn't want to miss that. And 30 gigs data for just £10 a month on Smarty Mobile. You definitely don't want to miss that. Our Smarty SIM comes packed with 30 gigs of data and unlimited calls and texts for just £10 a month on a 1-month plan. That's why Smarty won Best Value SIM-only network in the U-Switch Mobile Awards 2020. Don't miss out. Search Smarty Mobile. Smarty. Simple, honest mobile. Smarty.co.uk.
Let's get this right, sir. You didn't see 3 men dressed as clowns take off in a van with a Renaissance painting because you were distracted by, and I quote, a sporty red compact SUV with a bold mesh grille, a sculpted bonnet with sweeping roofline on diamond-cut alloys.
And beautiful rear haunches.
So, you saw a Jaguar E-Pace. But what about the clowns?
What clowns?
Jaguar E-Pace, designed to steal attention. Search Jaguar E-Pace.
At the Bank of Santander, they've created Stan, a smart bot that can predict the future of remortgaging.
I'll read Stan. Will my mortgage rate go up?
1955 was the last time Newcastle won the cup.
No, and try not to mumble.
Playing, let's get ready to rumble.
Meanwhile, at Santander, they can't predict your future, but they'll help secure it with great mortgage rates fixed for up to 10 years. See what's possible at Santander.
Early repayment charges apply. Lending subject to status and criteria. Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
I'm Peter Jones. Lifting business performance is critical in today's uncertain times. But how do you keep up with changing regulations and rising demands? How do you break free from manual processes to raise productivity? The answer is technology that elevates performance and comes with industry-leading support. Over 1 million UK businesses, including my investment group, trust Sage to manage their finances, operations and people.
Elevate your business today with our free performance review. Visit sage.com/perform.
Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, work from home on a Friday jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, Soho jobs, Shoreditch jobs. Keep me away from the central line jobs. Banking jobs, building jobs, never ever boring jobs. Small jobs, big jobs, lunch in Borough Market jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
When you're driving along a motorway and you see a red X sign, it means stay out of that lane because there's a hazard up ahead. Red X signs are there to keep us safe and keep us moving, because we all want to be somewhere. Somewhere like going to watch the undefeated Blue and Whites being defeated. Oh, well, it's always next season. Follow the signs. Keep us all moving. Search Highways England Motorways to find out more.
The famous five were at home discussing their next adventure. "Let's visit Tower Bridge," said Dick. "Or Cardiff Castle," added Julian. "St Michael's Mount," cried Anne. Dick jumped up. "Wherever we're going, we'll need to leave right now." "Relax," said George. "It's faster than you think by train. Anyway, we can't go yet. You're still in your pyjamas." With faster journeys across our network, adventures are closer than you think. Great Western Railway. Adventures start here. Terms and conditions apply. Selected routes only.
Fill the trolley with your favourite brands on rollback at Asda. A 38-pack of Fairy Non-Bio capsules was £8.50, now £5.75. A Lenore Gold fabric conditioner was £4, now £2.50. Big brands, small prices. Don't compromise. Asda. Save money, live better. Selected stores subject to availability. Lenore 1.925 litres, ends 18th of March.
Fillet of fish from a dish. Share box and evening frocks. Big Mac down a cul-de-sac and even under a drying rack. Veggie deluxe and power cuts. Medium fries in rainy skies. Or maybe cheeseburgers in the bath. How daft. Wraps through cat flaps, nugs on rugs, or perhaps a McChicken sandwich to the river. Because now, we deliver. Download Uber Eats and enjoy McDonald's at home. At participating McDonald's, see mcdonalds.co.uk/McDelivery to see if there's one near you. Serving times and delivery fee apply. See Uber Eats app.
Breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. Mixed day on Wall Street. Couple of key after-the-bell headlines that we are following up on. Microsoft, first of all, saying that for the third quarter of fiscal year 2020, it does not expect to meet its more personal computing segment guidance as Windows OEM and Surface are more negatively impacted than previously anticipated by the coronavirus. We've got shares of Microsoft down 0.8%. Again, developing story. Those are the headlines. Sorting through the details, and we'll have more as they become available. Also after the bell, Booking.com. It forecasted adjusted EPS for the first quarter. That guidance missing the average analyst estimate. Shares now lower by 1.7%. What a day on Wall Street. Going to be very interesting to see how Asian markets react tonight. Right now, the S&P down 11 points today, 31.16. That was a drop of 0.4%. The Dow tumbled 123 points, down 0.5%. Best level of the day, we had the Dow up 461 points, but at the close, a fade there, down 123 points. NASDAQ did hold on to a 15-point gain, up by 0.2%. 10-year, 1.33%. Gold up 0.3%, $16.40 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude slumping along with Brent. WTI down 2.5%, 48.67 a barrel with a 48 handle there. Brent 53.37. That's the global benchmark, down by 2.9%. Recapping, mixed finish to your Wednesday session. S&P down 11, a drop there of 0.4%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. Lots of news after the closing bell. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Massar along with Vince Signorella, and this is Bloomberg Business Week on Bloomberg Radio and Bloomberg YouTube. So we do want to talk a little bit about the environment for deals. We did see a little bit of flow today, certainly in the private equity world. Our next guest certainly plays into it. Ted Swimmer is head of corporate finance and capital markets at Charlotte, North Carolina-based Citizens Bank. He joins us, Vince and myself, in our Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio. So nice to have you here. We have been looking at the virus, certainly from a lot of different perspectives. We talked about the chip market. We're going to talk about the travel industry in a moment. But talk to us about the M&A environment, the deal environment, and what you're seeing. First of all, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's early for us yet to predict what's going to happen with the deal environment with the coronavirus. For the January and February were at outstanding months in both the bank and bond market. We saw repricings on the bank deal in the bank market about 50 to 75 basis points in both January and February. A demand far exceeded the supply of new loans coming to the market, and there was certainly excessive demand for new deals coming to the market. Similar on the bond side of the market, we saw very aggressive conditions in the bond market. We saw a lot of bond transactions priced. The high yield market had two of the best months it's ever had. Investment grade bonds were on fire. A lot of investment grade bond issuance taking advantage of the low rate environment. And then on Monday, it all stopped. So
I was going to say, we have a story on the Bloomberg. Wall Street banks recording their third straight day without any bond offerings.
So that is true. Today, though, there was the first deal was announced after the bell to say Cleveland Cliffs is going to go to the market tomorrow. So we'll see how that deal goes. If that goes well, hopefully we'll see other deals follow. The secondary market right now, it's been relatively orderly in both the bank and bond markets. The bank market's probably off 0.5 to 0.75 of a point since Monday. The bond market off 1 point to 1.5 points since Monday. So some of the higher beta names are trading off a little bit more. But overall, given everything that's gone on in the equity markets, the bank and bond market have been relatively muted in their response. It hasn't been great days in those markets,
right,
but it certainly hasn't been to the same extent that we saw the equity markets trade off on Monday and Tuesday. So we'll be really interested to see what happens if and when this bond deal does come out tomorrow. But you're right, it's been 3 straight days without anything coming to the bond market, which if you look at the pace of way things were being issued from January and February is really falling off of a cliff.
Is it just that the extraordinary rally we've seen in bonds and that the prices are at levels which aren't attracting investors' appetite? I mean, yields are at levels that don't appeal to people?
It's some of that, and it's some of when people issue or companies issue bonds, they want to know they're issuing into a stable market. And given the volatility we've experienced the last couple of days, the last thing a bond issuer wants to do is go out into market and have to be choiced to take either a rate that they don't find attractive and or not do their transaction, which puts a taint on the deal. So there's always concern. They want to go issue into a relatively stable market. And obviously the last Monday and Tuesday were not stable markets. Today was better, and hopefully tomorrow will be better after that.
And so if there's not really good appetite for this bond issue that's coming out tomorrow, that's going to put investors off even more so. And
there's a risk of that happening. Yeah. I don't know that will happen or not. But if a bond deal was received poorly, yes, there would be some risk of that happening.
Well, I was looking at our story, and it said the $2.6 trillion international bond market. So you're talking about where the big companies, right, they go to fund everything that they want to do, whether it's an acquisition, whether they're looking to upgrade a factory. We say it came to a virtual standstill as the coronavirus spreads fear through the company boardrooms. If it continues, is it the canary in the coal mine? How do you read it in terms of what it says about sentiment and where we might go from here?
If the bond market were to stay frozen for a period of time, and it has in the past, if you go back to 2018, basically November and December of 2018, I think we saw one issuance of bonds get done. High yield bonds get done in November, December 2018. But then January came and investors started to feel a little more comfortable, and it came back and we survived, and it wasn't a huge deal. We've seen this in the high yield bond market.
Right.
I would say every other year something will happen. 2016, I think it was the energy situation, limited bond issuance. I think investors have gotten used to playing these things out and waiting for a more healthy bond market to come back before they go out and issue again. It doesn't, even after the last 2 days, it certainly or Monday and Tuesday, it hasn't felt as bad as it has felt at other times. It seems very orderly.
Okay.
At least on the loan side, where you watch how much we have in outflows. The outflows have been relatively muted despite all the noise on Monday and Tuesday in the loan market. The bond market a little more significant, but still, not the significant outflows we've seen in the past.
So not worried that it means something.
I was say real quick, 20 seconds. Yeah. Do you think it's because this chase for yield, so investors have been comfortable with the high yield market more so than they would have been in years past?
Very quickly.
Some of that, and I think we're in uncharted waters. People just don't know how to behave, so they're not trying to overreact at this point, and that's, I think, what's driving some of it.
The overreaction will come if it just starts to get much worse. Ted Swimmer, a delight. Thank you. Nice to have you here. Head of Corporate Finance and Capital Markets at Citizens Bank, based in Charlotte, North Carolina, in our Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio on this Wednesday. Hey, coming up, we got to check out L Brands coming out with their earnings. We'll break down the quarter. What you need to know. That's next on Bloomberg Radio.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. It was another down day for stocks, though the market began to show signs of stability in the face of the coronavirus epidemic. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 124. The S&P 500 lost 12. The Nasdaq Composite gained 15. Nestle is taking an extreme measure in the face of the epidemic, telling employees to postpone all overseas business travel until mid-March. The food giant has nearly 300,000 employees worldwide. As some companies brace for a slowdown due to the coronavirus, others could see a boom. Analysts say Peloton could be among the latter if more people turn to at-home workouts. Peloton surged more than 7% today. Nokia gained 6%. Pressure is mounting on the network equipment maker to consider asset sales or a merger as competition squeezes its bottom line. Sources say Nokia is working with advisors to consider its options. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
Hi, I'm your host, Smokey Colbert, filling in for Smokey because after 75 years of...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Turns out there's much more to say. Nearly 90% of wildfires are caused by us humans being careless, dumping our used barbecue coals willy-nilly. Guess the song was wrong. We did start the fire. That's why I respect Mother Nature and her trees, whether coniferous or new car scented. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Are you interested in a challenging and exciting career? One where you can be part of solving complex challenges across industries and geographies. Bloomberg's ever-expanding technology, data, news, and media services foster innovation, empower clients, and offer nearly limitless opportunities for career growth. Visit Bloomberg.com/careers today to view our current job opportunities. Bloomberg LP is an equal opportunity employer. The address once again is Bloomberg.com/careers.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn. When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
In case you didn't know, TuneIn lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio, except you can hear them from anywhere. If you want to find a station from somewhere else in the world, navigate to the By Location section under Browse. Keep exploring with TuneIn.
At feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Business is constantly evolving. Is your financial printer evolving to keep ahead of the curve? At Command Financial, we are redefining financial printing by providing industry-leading expertise, leveraging technology, and honing processes and best practices. Every day, Command helps SEC registrants, as well as members of their working groups, including securities attorneys and investment bankers, prepare, file, and disseminate regulatory and disclosure documents, such as registration statements, M&A documents, and mutual fund prospectuses and reports. Command provides a full range of services to help you effectively complete your deal, meet your disclosure requirements, and achieve your shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
Why is delivering the best client experience a top priority at BNY Mellon's Pershing? Michelle Feinstein, Director of Client Engagement, explains.
Today's investors want a financial relationship that's on demand, customized, and leverages the latest digital technology. At BNY Mellon's Pershing, helping advisory firms and broker-dealers create great experiences for their clients is our priority. Through our integrated wealth experience, we give you a high-touch service, flexible technology choices, and expert insights, so you can deliver a highly personalized experience to your clients at every step, from onboarding to wealth planning, to performance analysis and more. And because we're part of BNY Mellon, you'll benefit from more than 230 years of strength and stability. At Pershing, we're personally invested in your success.
Visit Pershing.com to learn more about Pershing's integrated wealth experience. Pershing LLC and Pershing Advisor Solutions LLC are both members of FINRA and SIPC.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
If morning is not your favorite part of the day, then maybe you're not listening.
What would you expect from Bezos next?
Bloomberg Surveillance.
We finally start to make a move.
Weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio. Bloomberg, the world is listening. Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 1061 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week, watching us on YouTube as well. Carol Massar along with Vince Signorella in for Jason Kelly on this Wednesday. L Brands out with their earnings. Looks like the stock's down about 3.5% here in the afterwards, but it's interesting trades, weird trades. I don't know.
I'm just looking at some of the numbers, and I'm not seeing comparisons, so I'm not really sure what to compare it to.
All right, well, we're going to break it down. We're going to have our Poonam Goyal from Bloomberg Intelligence get to it. Let's get back to top stories. Lots after the closing bell.
Indeed, and we've got no reservations about it. Marriott International just reporting its latest quarterly results. Fourth quarter adjusted EPS, $1.57. Estimates there, $1.46. A little change in the stock. Fourth quarter revenue, $5.37 billion. Estimates, $5.51 billion, so a miss on fourth quarter revenue. But Marriott International saying in a headline on the Bloomberg, coronavirus could be material to results. Developing story, Marriott's numbers are out. We will have more on that for you coming up right here. Also keeping an eye on Limited Brands LB, which did report after the closing bell. Mixed session today with the Dow, the S&P both lower. Wild session, in fact. At one point we had the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 461 points. Ended with a down session with the Dow dropping 123 points, down 0.5%. S&P lower by 11, down 0.4. NASDAQ Composite Index did advance by 15 points, up by 0.2%. So bottom line, though, stocks lower for a fifth day, longest losing streak since August. Treasury 10-year note yields dropping to another record low as investors weather a barrage of reports on the widening coronavirus outbreak. Now, as for markets and predictions for a so-called V-shaped recovery, Nouriel Roubini is the chairman and CEO of Roubini Macro Associates. He told Bloomberg Television those hopes are, quote, delusional.
You have now contagion to Italy, Eurozone, and Japan. How much can the ECB do? 10 basis points, 20 basis points? How much the BOJ can do? 10 basis points, maybe 20 basis points? It's going to be peanuts. I do believe, actually, that the Fed is going to act, and I think the Fed is going to act in March, because they're going to realize now this is becoming a global pandemic.
The 10-year, 1.33%. Gold up today by 0.3%, $16.40 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude down 2.4%, $48.71 a barrel. U.S. regulators moving to block a proposed joint venture between coal giants Peabody Energy and Arch Coal, saying it would eliminate competition in the largest U.S. basin. Peabody shares plunging today by 14.7%. Ticker on Peabody, by the way, BTU. Also today, we had shares of Arch moving lower by 7.7%. Recapping, S&P down 11, a drop there of 0.4%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio and on YouTube. Carol Master along with Vince Signorella. L Brands, they are out with their earnings, and we are seeing the stock move around in the after hours. It looks like it's down about 3%. Poonam Goyal is our senior U.S. retail analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence. She follows this name along with the rest of the retail group, and she joins us on the phone in New Jersey. So, Poonam, just quickly, I just want to mention fourth quarter EPS. It looks like it came in 3 cents better than forecasted. Adjusted EPS, 3 cents better. First quarter, they're looking at a loss, I guess, of about 5 cents a share, and their direct comp was down 1%, which looks like it was better than what Wall Street was forecasting, and yet the stock is down. Walk through the quarter. What do you see?
Yeah, so the quarter, they had already pre-announced the comps for the quarter. So Victoria's Secret comps were down 10% and Bath & Body Works were up 10%. The story kind of is the same as it has been all year for them, where Victoria's Secret continues to struggle as a lingerie maker, just can't get the traffic and the conversion in the stores that they need, given that they're giving up share to competition. Now, we also know that, Sycamore has said that they are going to buy 55% of Victoria's Secret, the majority stake, for a little over $500 million. That transaction is expected to close in 2Q. That is what they just said. It'll be interesting, really, to see what Sycamore does with Victoria's Secret, because the brand itself is still a pretty well-known. It has the cachet, but it's just been losing steam as the Me Too movement, as more natural, more less sexy, I should say, has been taken hold with Aerie and other brands. But that's really what we're looking at. For the quarter, margins continue to be pressured from promotions, and we see that trend continuing into 2020. They're expecting comps to be down low single digits next year, which is largely probably driven by an increase once again in Bath & Body Works and a mid to high single digit decline, we think, at Victoria's Secret.
It just sounds like an enormous challenge. I hear people saying that the marketing, essentially the women's product marketed to men almost with the model show. How do you make sexy not sexy but still viable?
Yeah, that's the challenge at hand for them, right? So when you think about Victoria's Secret and you think about it over the past many decades, it's overtly sexy, right?
Yeah.
So I think what they have to do is, with the younger generation that's not really interested in that type of sexy anymore, they want it to look good, but they also want it to look real. And that's a challenge that L Brands or Victoria's Secret has to bridge pretty carefully, because, if you look at Aerie, which isn't still yet $1 billion brand, where L Brands Victoria's Secret segment is over $7 billion in sales. So there's a big gap there, right? You can't all of a sudden just flip the switch on and go to realism from sexy, because you'll turn off those $6 billion in incremental sales that you have or more. So I think it'll be interesting to watch what they do, whether they close more stores, shrink each store size. I think there's going to be a lot of change coming for L Brands Victoria's Secret segment once the transaction closes in 2Q.
Right. But they're still, it's interesting. It's not like they're washing their hands of it, right? Because they still have a 45% interest in it. So, is that a good move in your view, Poonam, that they should hold on to it? As you said, it's a well-known brand and certainly brand recognition, but sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that they are holding on to some of it. Many have argued in terms of the valuation that they're receiving from Sycamore is too low. That's what we've seen, and that's a separate discussion. But the fact that if Sycamore can rationalize the fleet and can really turn the business around, then Victoria's Secret shareholders that would have an opportunity to at least capitalize on any improvement that can be brought forward.
And just flipping real quick, Bath & Body Works? Love, I get some of this for Christmas every year. This is kind of the exact opposite story, right? They're moving into men's wellness, men's product. Obviously, something Victoria's Secret's going to probably struggle to get me into a store, but this side of the coin is it seems like an easy one.
Yeah, I mean, Bath & Body Works just continues to fire year after year. Their comps, in 2018, if you had asked me that their comps grew double digits again, I'd be like, they have some really tough compares, and they managed to still pull in double-digit gains in 2019, and they're expecting, once again, robust gains in 2020. Actually, they're going to open 70 stores, right? How many retailers are still opening stores? Bath & Body Works will be opening 70 stores in North America next year. So it's a model that works. Okay. They're getting the traffic in stores, and part of it really goes back to just the infusion of newness, right? New fragrances, new scents. That's what's driving the customer back into the store to replenish the item.
All right, Poonam, thank you as always. Poonam Goyal from Bloomberg Intelligence. All right, let's get back to World and National News headlines right now. Ed Baxter in our studio in San Francisco. Hey, Ed.
All right, Carol. Hi. We have some developing news. Multiple media reports of what police characterize as a critical incident at or near the Molson Miller Brewing Company offices in Milwaukee. Police are asking for people to stay clear. They call it critical. There are reports of an active shooter. The World Health Organization has sent out new updates saying today marks the most new coronavirus infections increase outside of China. It says 412 new cases reported today in China, 459 in the rest of the world. Health officials in Nassau County, New York are saying they're monitoring 83 people who had visited China and may have come into contact with the virus. Governor Andrew Cuomo says none of the cases have been confirmed at this point.
New York State right now has had 27 cases that we have explored. All of them have come back negative. There is one case that is still pending. There have been 53 cases of people nationwide who have tested positive for the coronavirus.
President Trump will hold a news conference in a couple of hours to try and manage the narrative, which has been splintered so far in his administration.
It's a very delicate messaging strategy, and one that the Trump administration has kind of struggled to get right at times because they've had different officials giving different messages about, whether or not this is something that is an imminent threat or something that's mostly contained at this point.
Bloomberg's Anna Edgerton, the president, is being criticized for his handling of this from the beginning, of course, by Democrats. We'll see what he has to say. It should be noted, too, the president yesterday did ask for another $2.5 billion in funding. In San Francisco, I'm Ed Baxter. This is Bloomberg Radio.
Message and data rates may apply. T&C and privacy terms can be found at babbel.com/terms. Please don't text and drive.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then try Babbel for free by texting EXPLORE to 64,000. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or text EXPLORE to 64,000 and try it for free. Text EXPLORE to 64,000.
Hey y'all, Jeff Foxworthy here. Now, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing over and over for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
That's why I'm filling in for Smokey to switch things up, because there's a lot more to say. And I should know because my grandfather was a firefighter. And one of the things he taught me is that the people that love the outdoors the most are often the ones accidentally starting wildfires, which means always BYOB. No, bring your own bucket to the campfire. And be extra careful with things like burning yard trimmings. Don't just walk away, or chances are you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
It's not always obvious, but 1 in 5 people in the UK are disabled. So if we're sitting in the priority seats on the bus or train, lost in our books or wrapped up in the latest box set. Let's not forget about the people we share our journeys with. Let's pop out of our shells every now and then and ask if someone needs that seat more than us. Remember, it's everyone's journey.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Start hearing more of what you want. Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations, live commercial-free news, and every live NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL game. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Did you know your favorite radio stations are in your pocket? Yes, the TuneIn app lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio anywhere you want. To see all the stations broadcasting in your area, find the local radio section on the home screen. Keep it local with TuneIn.
Founded Keurig Green Mountain, a company whose incredible innovations changed the way the world brews a cup of coffee. Today, he lectures widely on business leadership and is a strong advocate for NJIT's work to combine business education with the power of STEM.
NJIT is definitely fostering the innovative thinking for budding entrepreneurs simply because that's the world we live in. NJIT is producing students that have been trained, educated, and given the business acumen to be a contributor to a company. The distinct mission is to develop great STEM scholars. The attributes I've always looked for in team members are heart, smarts, guts, and luck. So we want people with passion, intelligence, courage, and never discount luck. The student coming out of NJIT has experienced all of that.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their businesses strategically, yet the most competitive managers in the market know with the right partner and a flexible operating system, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
Determination and operational strength are both essential factors for growth in asset management. I'm Steve Meyer, President and Head of SEI's Investment Manager Services Division. We know that disruptive forces create opportunities around the world. If you see potential in change, our industry specialists will maximize SEI's integrated platform of data and risk management, global investment operations, compliance support, and investor services to position your asset management business for success. Come grow with us.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. After the bell, we heard from Microsoft making an announcement that it is reducing its sales forecast for the current quarter, citing the impact of the coronavirus outbreak on PC suppliers and manufacturers in China. Shares of Microsoft trading lower, down now by just about 0.3%. I'm also keeping an eye on LB, Limited Brands. It reported adjusted earnings per share for the fourth quarter that beat the average analyst estimate. However, shares are trading lower. Right now, shares of Limited Brands, LB, down by 3.06%. The Dow, the S&P both lower. NASDAQ advancing today. Very choppy session. Bottom line, stocks lower for a fifth day. Longest losing streak since August. Dramatic reversal for the Dow. In the early going, have been up by more than 460 points. Ended with a loss, down 121 points, lower by 0.5%. Interesting, in the year-to-date column on the Dow, down 5.5%. S&P slumping 11 points today, swinging between gains and losses. Bottom line, down by 0.4%. NASDAQ did eke out a gain of 15 points. NASDAQ up today by less than 0.2%. Recapping, stocks lower, S&P 500 index down 11, a drop there of 0.4%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie Pellet, thank you so much. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on YouTube and on Bloomberg Radio. Yeah, we want to talk a little bit about healthcare, medical treatments, and genetic testing, because genetics and genetic testing are already changing medicine and healthcare approaches, certainly changing it as we've known it. Our next guest has some thoughts on the next era of genetic testing. Sean George is CEO of Invitae, joining us on the phone from San Francisco. So, Sean, first of all, I've been checking out your website. My co-host Vince Signorello doing the same thing. And tell me a little bit about what you guys do specifically.
Yeah, so we have a sample to answer process that at its core level answer the question, can we explain, in a family, a history of disease? Can we explain for an individual symptoms or problems they're having with their health? And then for a whole batch of other disorders, can we screen, whether it's a woman thinking of starting a family or having a child, or at a population level, screen for disease that will cause negative outcomes, increase healthcare costs, and all across the board, across all disease areas, across all stages in life. We have been building a company to bring genetic information into mainstream medical care for the roughly 2 billion people on the planet in modern economies that we think can use it.
All right, so you need the genetic information, right, to do something with it. So tell me how it works. Are you at this point, just bringing in patients and gathering their genetic information and then applying it to treatment? Help me make that jump here.
Right. So our customers are typically seeing a clinician, whether it's in a disease area that is affecting their family or for which the symptoms that are presenting indicate. Or, for example, a lot of our customers are women who are visiting their OB and either newly pregnant or thinking about starting a family. And those are the points in life when the question comes to bear, could anything here be explained by genetics? Is there anything that we can do by way of prevention, delaying the onset of disease, decisions to avoid one way or the other, or therapeutic decisions to treat these disorders? And that's the type of information we provide for the patient, our customer themselves, and the clinicians who are caring for them.
So how accurate are the tests? I mean, if you say to someone, you have the propensity or a higher percentage to have a Down syndrome child, just say, for instance, and they choose not to have children or abort the child, what type of accuracy rate do you put to that type of substantial decision?
Right, so across our menu, whether it's cancer, cardiovascular disorders, pediatric neurology, or as you point out, a lot of the reproductive health testing and screening, our accuracy is the best-in-class medical genetics. It's measured. There's a handful of statistics that our clients really pay attention to: sensitivity, specificity, positive predictive value, negative predictive value. And on those measures, our tests are world-class, highest grade, trusted by key opinion leaders in genetics across all disciplines and all disease areas.
Well, and Sean, the debate that's out there, first of all, you're giving up your genetic makeup. That's a lot of personal information. And I do think there's a security aspect to it. But I do wonder, are we getting to the stage where everybody's going to be genetically mapped and it's going to say, okay, you have a propensity for X, Y, and Z? I mean, is that kind of where things are going? And does it ultimately lead to better healthcare, treatment, medical care, and longevity for individuals? Or are there false positives that might create, stress that doesn't need to be there?
So the short answer to both of those is yes. I'll do the first. Undoubtedly, genetics has a far larger impact on the health of an individual and their extended family and the population than is currently being practiced in medicine today. This is just math. We know the degree to which these this genetic variation afflicts the population. The impact is very large, and by bringing this information, we've spent the last 10 years lowering the cost of this information and increasing the access to it, the ease of use. And in doing so, we think we can bring this information into mainstream medical care, which will no doubt improve outcomes and lower costs. To your second point, you do have to do it. You do have to do it in a medically responsible way. This is information that, no matter what the reason is for an individual seeking the information, once you have information that confers a significantly high risk of some disorder, your next steps will be medical in nature. You will be in a medical continuum. You will be asking questions about insurance reimbursement or who's going to pay for downstream treatment. And that's why, we believe it's essential to approach this from a medical perspective, as we have the last 10 years. We've built what I believe can be said as the number one brand in genetics in the healthcare continuum. And to the extent of the data privacy is a question, this is where, in that context, this is like any other visit to your doctor. We are a HIPAA-covered entity. The information is being generated as it is on a CT scan or an ultrasound or any other lab test. And that information is protected by HIPAA. It's used in confidence to the benefit of the patient. And in specifically at Invitae, as we think about moving the entire genetic testing industry forward to one away from test by test, sample by sample, indication by indication, to one of genetic information used in the background for a patient's behalf. Founding principle of the company is that patients own and control their data, and so in addition to all of the regulations that control, that cover medical providers that we comply with, we in addition have as a foundational concept that we only take that data and send it to ecosystem players at the behest of the patient, at the explicit consent of the patient for their behalf.
So I can see where you say a large part of your clients are women, obviously in the reproductive field, and perhaps even the genetics behind breast cancer, for instance. But for other things, like for men, for instance, trying to track some sort of cancer that may be hereditary in the family, can that information really help? I mean, if you tell someone that you are prone to a particular cancer, what could you really do to prevent it?
And just got about 30 seconds. Forgive me. Go ahead, Sean.
Absolutely. The short answer to that is yes, absolutely. I'll give you one quick example. Prostate cancer. 60% of men with prostate cancer could benefit from having their genetic information known. We're the leaders in prostate cancer testing today. I can tell you very few men get that information used on their behalf. And what happens is you can prognosticate different outcomes, how metastatic the cancer will be, how aggressive the treatment and monitoring should be, and in some cases, point to specific therapies that can have greater effect.
Well, very, very interesting. Keep us posted on the work that you're doing, because I do think we talk about medical industry really is the one that is the latest to be disrupted, but we're starting to see a pickup in some of the activity. Sean George, CEO at Invitae, on the phone from San Francisco. That stock, by the way, up about 29% here in 2020. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week.
When you're driving along a motorway, you should keep left unless you're overtaking, no matter how many lanes the motorway has. It's important. Keeping left makes the motorway safer, helps traffic flow more freely, and keeps us all moving. Because we all want to be somewhere. Somewhere like home. Just in time for another peaceful bedtime with the kids. Put that down! Follow the signs. Keep us all moving. Search